All right, so here's what we're looking at this point, the current state of everything. Um, so, next steps. First off, we've got this DevSlopes final exam, which I have absolutely no desire to work on until I get back to Boulder and have more time and I'm not working construction and I've had some distance from it, which means that the next thing on the list is DevSlopes final project, also a very valuable thing to get moving on. So what do I have to do with that? This is what I was talking about before. I want to choose an app with maximum strategic value. So we just kind of looked at my long-term goals over there on that whiteboard. And basically based on my long-term goals, these are kind of like the factors that I want to take into consideration, or these are kind of like the things that I'm going to use to judge whether or not something is of strategic value or is of not, or which app ideas are going to be of strategic value and which ones won't. So the first one is learn to integrate GPT into an iOS app. So that's going to be basically, obviously, a lot of my business ideas, long-term business ideas, involve using AI in apps. And possibly just developing an AI software as a whole. Obviously, I'm in iOS app development right now. Hopefully, I'll be able to get some freelance jobs and stuff doing that, but I can shift over to software if I need to. I've learned quite a bit of Python. And then making apps with AI is also potentially very profitable. So, learning how to integrate ChatGPT or any NLP, or more accurately labeled LLM, is going to be of high value. And basically, the difference, I think, it seems to be that and NLP is a pretty general term, which is a natural language processor, and that's just a general approach to writing an artificial intelligence that's able to understand language. An LLM is a large language model, which essentially uses NLP, but is able to read and understand larger amounts of data. It's able to analyze large amounts of text with hundreds, if not thousands, of words. So it can be dealing with millions to billions of words. So you can deal with much larger data sets or word sets. So I'd want to, and that's how you can kind of get into custom knowledge bases where you can say, okay, here are all the laws in construction management. Here's what's going on with this project. Make sure we don't do anything illegal, shit like that. Then those are kind of like the first things, right? Learning how to fine tune an NLP. That's basically going to be teaching an artificial intelligence a more niche skill. If you work with ChatGPT very much, you'll eventually find that as you get more and more niche, the depth of its understanding and its responses are going to be weaker and weaker. So you can kind of make ChatGPT or any other NLP, although GPT is kind of the best that we have right now, you can make any NLP more niche. And that's going to be an extremely valuable skill to learn. Integrate custom knowledge bases. Again, that's giving one of these, something like GPT, that's learning how to make it so that it can go through and deal with this whole custom knowledge base that you're giving it. So an example of a custom knowledge base might be a particular company's records and the projects that they're currently undertaking and past projects, and then using that AI to look at these past projects, all this information that you've given it, and to be able to look through, analyze the data from the past projects and make predictions or statements about the current project. So that's going to be a really valuable skill. And then we'll have money making potential. That's because I want to have money. That's why I'm making apps. I mean, I love the process. I love making apps, but ultimately I'm trying to I got to get some income going. I got to feed myself. I want to have a house. I want to do stuff. I want to have money. So money making potential. Very good stuff. Very good. But again, I have skill development prioritized first because I am at the beginning of this process. I shouldn't be valuing the money making potential over the skill development potential. When you're young, when you're in your 20s, focus more on developing your skills, becoming high value, let the money come later. But if I find an idea that has potential to make me money, I'll take it into consideration. Next up is utilize Asonio Incorporated. That's the construction company I'm currently doing labor for. That's the family business. And this is a very useful factor. And this is a factor that I should take into consideration. I've been in the construction industry ever since I was a kid. I grew up in it, grew up going to job sites, working manual labor, seeing how the process works. So I have a lot of understanding of the construction industry. I can leverage that and that understanding to create an app that is valuable to the managers or other employees and solves some problem within Asonio, within the construction business. And I can generalize that to any construction business, not ours in particular. At least that would be the goal, in order to create some kind of valuable app, and that would have money-making potential. And hopefully I can find something that does those three as well. And then this is one of my limiting factors, is I want to be able to do it by the end of August, because the problem with being an engineering student is great because engineering is very cool. I have this limiting factor where once August is over, school gets going, and I'm going to have much less time to focus on this final exam. So I'd like to have this final exam done by August. That way, over the school year, I have the ability to start applying to jobs and actually making money and getting freelance work done. And that's what's going to free me after I graduate college. Those freelance jobs are going to free me to be able to easily get high-paying online jobs and go travel the world if I want. And then while I'm traveling the world, I can build up online businesses. And then, yeah, these are just other next steps. I've got some more books I got to read. I've got some online content I need to create. I really need to work on a coding tutorial. I've been putting those off for a while. I'm loving making the biz vlogs, though. Those are very, very fun to make. App ideas. So one thing I did is I labeled these A, B, C, D, E, F. And the reason I did that is because then I can, while I'm going through and I'm writing out my app ideas, I can go like, okay, which strategic value factors does this app idea satisfy? And then I can write down like, okay, well, this is going to integrate ChatGPT, but it doesn't have very much money making potential. So then I can write down like, okay, it satisfies A, B, and C, but it doesn't satisfy D. Obviously, this isn't like the best system ever. It doesn't represent like a hierarchy of value. I could realistically categorize these as the same thing. And this is kind of like, you know, a very important thing, and also not entirely clear because I've only made a couple of practice apps before. So it's not the best system, but it's not all that bad. It gives me some direction. It gives me some idea of where I'm trying to go. Anyway, this is my first app that I'm looking at. Basically, I have two that I'm looking at. The first is going to be creating some kind of like Stoic artificial intelligence where you can write journal reflections and then discuss with your Stoic master about these journal reflections. You can ask it questions. It can take your reflections into consideration, and then it'll give you Stoic advice. It'll spit out some Stoic quotes, and then maybe it'll give you some exercises. So there's like one Stoic exercise. It's called like contemplate the sage, and maybe it'll walk you through a sage contemplation where you think about somebody that you really admire. You think about their situations, their circumstances, and then you relate their situations, their circumstances, and their wisdom to your own life, and you try and approach your life the way the sage would. And maybe while you're talking to this Stoic master, I can have given it historical data on different Stoics, and GPT already has a lot of that data. And you can talk to it about, you know, what stories might be applicable here. You can talk about these sages, and it can tell you stories and be like, oh wow, that's very cool. And maybe the AI can relate their stories to your situation. I don't know if that would take a lot of fine tuning. We'll find out. I am going to talk to somebody. I scheduled a meeting for this Thursday with this guy on YouTube called, I think, the AI Guy, and basically we're going to talk about the dynamics of that, how much fine tuning I would have to do, how I would set up a knowledge base, how I'm going to integrate that into an app, and the different tools that I'm going to use. So I'll tell you guys what I get from that when that comes. And then all right, here's the other app idea. It would be a time card app for the construction company. Essentially what we're looking at is the way that the employees have to record the time that they spent working is very time demanding. It's very effortful. It's very inconvenient. And essentially what this app would do is it would simplify that process and make it much easier for the employees to go and turn in their time cards, basically. So right now they're just on pieces of paper. There's a bunch of processes that you have to go through, and because it's on a piece of paper, you end up going from place to place. You have managers trying to track people down to get their time cards, to sign off on their time cards. You have all this information, this data that's stored literally on a piece of paper, so it's not digitalized, and that's very inconvenient. So if you want to be able to do any kind of data analysis, either you have to do all that by hand, or you have to spend a bunch of time copying all of this data into a computer. What this app would do is it would digitalize that whole process. It would make it much easier and more convenient for the employees to record the time that they spend, and it would keep track of where the employees are, what jobs they're working at, and that keeps track of a bunch of unbelievably important and useful data. And that's the kind of data, when I come down here to possibly creating an artificial intelligence integration in this app, or just an artificial intelligence software for the company, all of that data would be very useful for the AI to have access to in order to come to conclusions, be able to create estimates, learn, all that kind of stuff. Next we have, so that's kind of the base idea. That's the MVP. That would be my focus. Biggest takeaway that you should have from this is this isn't a super fun or flashy idea, but it's super useful. It's something I think the employees would really appreciate and want. Yesterday, I talked to one of the carpenters about it. He gave me some more specifics about what would be the most helpful, what would be less helpful. And so I came back and kind of wrote out my takeaways from that, and narrowed in on, you know, what they actually wanted. I was looking at this communication section. This was the original main idea. But after talking to him about the problem, the time card problem, the time card kind of became the focus. And I expanded on the functionality of that time card. So yeah, you're trying to make an app, you want to make money. Everybody has had problems. I've worked for this company for a long time, so I know that this is a problematic system. I know it's irritating. Everybody in the company wants it to change, but nobody's really sure how to. I identified that problem, and so I'm going to solve it for people, and that's what people pay money for. That's called providing value. And then the first step in any of this process is going and actually talking to the people who would want it. Just that one conversation gave me so much clarity on what this app would be, and how to make this app in a way that would actually provide value and actually solve the problems that needed to be solved. So I'm going to, well, let's just go on. Basically, then there's this communication idea and AI integration. I can talk about that later. Those are features that I could build off of this app, the Space app, or these are features that could build off of the Space app to make this application much more valuable. And in fact, like this AI integration, that could be very valuable for people. That could be something that we could offer to other companies, because it would be generalized enough to be utilized by other companies. And I wrote out a couple of like estimates. If I was able to create this AI and we sold it as a SaaS, we could probably make $1 million a year if we only get 0.0000264% of the customers in our marketplace. The marketplace being construction companies that could afford this. And that involves 3,787,470 companies. 3 million, you get that number, that one up there. This is a product, this is a service that we could provide on top of the product, so on and so forth. Anyway, high value stuff right here. This is, that's other stuff. We don't need to talk about that. What does matter is after I talked to the carpenter, I came back and I created, this is literally the first prototype for the app. So that first app idea I was talking about, that's what I'm going to do if this one doesn't work out. And this one will work out if I continue to talk to other employees and they seem interested, and I move up the ranks into foremen and they seem interested and they really like it. They have some good ideas and they're like, that would be great. This is something I would want to use. And then I go and talk to management level individuals. There's one in particular. And if I talk to him about it and he's like, let's fucking do it, then this is going to be the mission. And I'm going to try to figure that out within the next 2 weeks. But for now, I talked to the carpenter, and I came home and I made the quote unquote prototype. And then I'm going to take this prototype and I'll go show it to a few more carpenters, talk to them about it, make some adjustments, and also talk to a foreman or two about it, make some adjustments. And then at that point, I'll go into management and be like, hey, here we go. And I'll hopefully have finished $1 million offers by then, so I know what the hell I'm doing when I'm actually talking to the people who have the power to make the decision. And then if they're into it, great. This will be the project. Anyway, so this is the prototype. Basically, I came in here. I won't walk you through all of it, but I did stuff like, all right, the employees are going to have different features. They're gonna have access to different features than the foreman, because the employees just need to record their time, and they need to be able to view their time card and maybe make certain adjustments to the time card. So editing, there will be different editing positions based on the user. So if you have an employee or a laborer coming in and looking at their time card, they won't necessarily be able to verify their own time card. But if you have a foreman coming in and looking at an individual's time card, they'll have the permission to select verified or unverified. But yeah, so you can come in, you can view your time card. Any foreman can view any employee's time card. They can come to here, they can look at the site that they're in charge of, and they can look at the employees that are currently at that site. They can decide whether or not the employee is allowed to report which tasks they work on, or if the foreman wants to be the one to report which tasks they worked on. And then I would also have it so that they could choose that by employee or just generalize for everyone. Maybe I could add something where it's like the laborers can't write down which tasks they worked on, but the carpenters can, stuff like that. You could categorize employees by their skill and position or the job that they're doing. And so this is just like a rough idea of the data model. You have an array of time cards for each employee. Each time card is going to be, okay, what week is it? What are the time cards for each day? What jobs were they at? All that information is going to be in here. That's going to be a little bit more complicated than I made it seem here, but I'll create some kind of accurate, better data model than this. Anyway, so this is kind of like a rough sketch of what the app would look like, what kind of functionality it would have, and I can go and show this to the foreman and not waste a bunch of time creating something that they're not going to want. Then I came down here and I just drew this out. Basically, this is a rough sketch of some data management. So basically, you'd have the user, they would log in, I would store all the data in the cloud. It would fetch their data. It would put that data, into all of this. It would store that data in like a data service. So I'd extract that data. I'd probably put it into like a data service, and then that data service will either, whenever there's a change in user data, it's either going to send that back up to the cloud, or if it fails, it'll save it to core data, and then core data will save it to the cloud when possible. So yeah, that's the other app idea. Obviously, I'm much further along with this one. After the meeting this weekend, I'll be much further along with the journaling, the Stoic Journal app. But again, even this meeting, no matter what, this meeting will give me clarity on how to do this. It'll give me some ideas. and then I'll kind of go from there. I think this is a good way to keep my options open. Obviously, if I take this route, I'm kind of postponing my look at AI integration, but this also allows me to really practice and learn everything that really practice and nail down all the skills that I've already learned that are directly tied to app development, and not start getting all scattered about. But getting involved in AI, that's very important. That's something I need to do ASAP. But this also has more money-making opportunity and could likely be generalized to help other companies. And obviously when I get down to this point, it could be generalized to help like many companies. Like I was saying, $1 million business idea right here. And that was using like super low, like we're saying like this would have the value of an employee that costs $11,000 a month, which means we could charge $1,200, no problem, per month, per subscription. We would get $14,000 a year per subscription. We would have cost of services $0. Once you make a software and you start selling that, you get 100% gross profit. Now, obviously, like that doesn't take marketing into account, that doesn't take taxes into account, all that stuff for sure. But you aren't spending any money to actually generate the service. Of course, it takes time. If you want to update the service, you want to add to the service, fine. But everybody likes to see a $0 on the cost. Then $70, or if you get 70 clients, you can make $1 million. And then I said, okay, let's say it's 100 for generosity's sake, right? With a very generous monthly subscription, you only need that teeny tiny % of the available customers. So it's a really cool idea. Anyway, that's that.